Welcome participants. I am Dr. Gayatri. Welcome to the topic on Introduction to Competition and Market Structures. So before we go into the topic, let's try to understand how competition and market structures work in an economy. Today, if we look into all the companies, let's say for example, Google, Microsoft, or any FMCG company like ITC, or let us say Procter & Gamble or HUL, all these companies offer a lot of products as well as services. So each of these companies try to garner the attention of the consumers. So why they do this is to stay on the marketplace. So only to earn profits and to remain in the market for a longer time. So with this, we'll move on to what is the objective of this particular session. So the objective of this session is to identify the concept of market. So when you say market, what do you mean by a market? What is the structure of a market? What are the components in a market? To identify the different types of market structures and competition prevailing in the market. A firm to be successful in the long run depends on the decision it takes and in the type of market structures they are operating. So to identify the type of market structures, we need to know what are the different type of market structures. To analyze the factors that influences the behavior of the firms. Firms in an economy do not work in isolation. They are controlled by various factors, both internal factors as well as external factors. There are many factors that would impact the operation of a firm in the short run as well as in the long run. So to understand what are those factors, we need to know how these factors influences the operation of the firm. To understand the impact of pricing under different market structures. Price plays a very important role in deciding the type of product and services offered by sellers and the type of products and services which are taken up by the buyers. So price plays a very prominent role for both the buyers as well as sellers in deciding the success of a particular product or service. So let's go into the definition of market. So there are many economists who have defined market. So we'll just go with Chapman. Chapman defines market as the term market refers not necessarily to a place but also to a commodity or commodities and the buyers and sellers of the same who are in direct competition with each other. So interpreting this definition, we come to understand that there are certain components for a market. That is, there should be a buyer and seller for a commodity. So there is an interaction which is happening directly or indirectly or from different places between the buyers and sellers of a particular product. Then there is definitely a place. So the interaction also happens within a particular geographical area. It is not only restricted to one particular geographic area, it can move across areas. And then there is a medium of communication and a medium of interaction and transaction. So money forms a common medium of exchange between all these products and services. So at what type of price you want to sell your product or at what type of price the consumers are ready to buy a market depends upon the interaction followed between the buyers and sellers of a particular market. So further classifying markets. So we can go for a lot of classification. This is for easy understanding of markets. So markets can be basically classified based on geographical location or also based on the competition and the structure of markets. So by going by geographical location, we can classify markets as local markets, regional markets, national markets and international markets. So when we say local markets, there is only a small group of buyers and sellers who are available in a small restricted area, and the products they produce are very perishable in a shorter duration of time. So the exchange of products or services happens within a small area. So this is a local market, and an example for this can be like, let us say, milk, for example, or fruits and vegetables produced in a particular area. This is for a small consumption where the interaction between the buyers and sellers happen at the same place. So when the shelf life of a product extends, or let's say that when the logistic transports are good, we can expand the same to the regional markets and national markets. Some products are available regionally and some products are available nationally. So when we grow across countries, we call it as an international market. So certain varieties of FMCG products, masalas, spices, all these are available to one particular markets. So that can be called as a regional market, because this is completely based on taste and preferences of the particular product as well as the state. So tastes and preferences determine the regional markets. When it is into national markets, yes, the product is very successful and it is available throughout the country. So there are a lot of consumers for a national market. So when it comes to international markets, it has a very wide reach and the market base expands and the profitability of the company also expands. Gold, for example, is an international product which is traded across countries. Petroleum is a product. So we have lots of products and services that are traded across borders. So coming into the other type of classification, let us say time. So we can classify markets based on time. We have two types of classification here. One is called as the short run and one is called as the long run. So in the short run, all the factors are not variable. Maybe you can vary one or two factors in the short run, but all the factors are not variable in the short run. So since the time period is very short, we cannot make any changes in the factors of production. So in the long run, all the factors are variable. So time plays an important factor in changing all the variables in the factors of production. Next, when we come into the nature of transaction. So when we say nature of transaction, it is normally on the financial transaction that takes place, and this financial transaction is also based on commodities or services which are being traded on a spot market or a future market. When you say it is a spot market is fixing a product price on a daily transaction basis and selling of the product. It can be of any commodities or any transaction that takes place on that particular day at the prevailing prices. And when you say the future market, it is set for a future date. A price is being set for the future, wherein normally stocks, gold, crude oil, etc. are being traded at a future market also. So when you come into the last type of classification, it is based on completely regulation. When you say regulation, markets are being regulated by certain authorities. Now let's say that for a banking institution, if we look at the regulator, it is RBI. For the insurance sector, it is IRDA, and for, let's say, the stock exchanges, it is SEBI. So we have certain regulators who regulate the operation of the firms or units under them. So when you say regulated market, there is some sort of control or monitoring mechanism that is being practiced, and then there is some sort of, let's say, price stability in such markets. So further examples could be the electricity boards, water boards, the telecom tariff rates, etc. So when you say unregulated markets, it is completely without any monitoring, or let's say there is no proper form of control or mechanism over them. It is more or less like a free market wherein entry and exit into firms very easily happens. Okay, now let's understand competition. So when we are trying to compete with each other, okay, in terms of, let us say, price, in terms of quality, we try to improve the product and we try to give a better offering to the consumers. So competition, a healthy competition, is always good for any buyer as well as a seller. So seller sustains himself in the market by adding value to the products, and the buyers always look for products with innovation. So there has to to be a healthy competition, and only when there is a healthy competition between competitors, the prices will automatically reduce and the value of the product will enhance, because each of the competitor will try to attract the customer. So when you try to define competition, it is a situation where different firms seek to obtain a share of a market by varying the elements of marketing mix. It can be price, product, promotion and place. So here in terms of, let's say, price, I try to give a lower price to attract the customer. So what my competitors are offering, I try to give it at a lesser price from them so as to attract customers. This normally happens with FMCG sectors. Now, for example, let's take Boost and Complan. There is always a heavy competition between the two, and the differences in the prices are hardly between 10 to 15 rupees. So if I am trying to give a product at some rupees less, so I have a good consumer base. So some consumers are not willing to pay more. Even if it is a matter of a few rupees, they are not ready to pay for it because they are not in that income bracket, or they are not ready to spend that amount of money. So for people who are ready to spend a lesser amount, I have a product which is completely lesser than the other product which is completely costed. So those who are affordable to buy at high prices will take in a product which is quite costly. This depends upon the income levels prevailing at that particular point of time. So when it comes to product, what better features can I have in my product in terms of quality, in terms of color, in terms of fragrance, or in terms of any other attractive features? How do I enhance my product? How do I add additional value to my product? So there are consumers who look for product features, and there are some consumers who don't want complicated features. Now let's say, for example, if I take a mobile phone, I have a lot of options to work on it. But everybody are not well versed with all the options available in a mobile phone. So for them, it would not be very useful. So I have to classify my product into a very simple version, and then with a latest version or a sophisticated version. Depending on the usage, the product also sells very highly. And if I don't find any use for the options available in a product, that product does not give me much utility. And the type of promotion taken by the company to promote my product through advertisements, or let's say social media interactions, pop-ups, ads, etc., and the place wherein it is sold, it definitely influences a consumer to buy a product. A few examples will be continuing. Let's say, for example, if I take FMCG sector from India, you have HCL, HUL, ITC, Nestle, Britannia, and Amul companies. Each of these companies offer a wide variety of products which are there for the consumers. So they try to capture the market share as well as the consumer segment in the market. Each of these companies would like to stay on the top of the list in every segment. So there are other examples like automobiles. If you look into automobile sector, there are Tata Motors, Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki. Each of them are again trying to capture the consumers from different segments. Similarly, when you take cosmetics, the price level, the quality, the features, etc. varies with such companies. So any segment you have, there are a lot of competitors who are competing in the market. Even if you take an example of a soap or a toothpaste, you have some 30 to 40 brands competing in the market. So all these brands means business and profitability. And the only objective of a business is to achieve maximum profits at the minimum cost. So all these companies are looking for profit maximization, and that can happen only when the consumer base is very huge. So competition and market structures together. So what are the common factors that are there between these two concepts? So the behavior of the firm depends on certain factors like pricing, supply, barriers to entry, efficiency, and competition. So when I say pricing, I've already discussed on pricing, how price plays an important role in determining the behavior of the firm, what type of a product you are to produce, and to which category of consumers are you going to supply this. Are you producing a product for a smaller income group, or are you producing a product for a higher income group, or are you producing a product for an lower and middle income group? So this depends upon the type of pricing and the type of products available in the market. Next comes the supply. So as a supplier, will I be able to supply the product at a reasonable price? When you look into the concepts of demand and supply, in demand, the consumer looks for prices that are reasonable or normally low. So he wants a product with a good quality at the lowest possible rates possible. So as a seller, I would like to sell a product only at the higher prices. So price and the quantity demanded inversely varies with proportion. Proportionately varies. When it comes into supply, there is a direct relationship between price and supply of a product. Higher the price and higher the supply. As a supplier, I would like to sell at higher prices, and as a buyer, I would like to buy at lower prices. Higher the price, lower is the demand, and lower the price, higher is the demand. So demand is inversely proportional to price, and supply is directly proportional to price. So when it comes into barriers to entry, there are natural barriers, and also there are barriers which are being created by the government in forms of regulations and restrictions. Now let us say that, for example, tariff can be a barrier wherein you are restricting a product either to move into a country or move out of the country. So there are a lot of other regulations which makes it very difficult for a firm to enter a market. And efficiency depends upon how well the market is product is performing in the market and the level of information which a company is giving to its consumers. So when you know about how well a company is doing, automatically the trust with the company goes up. And when it is competition, yes, what is the type of competition with which each firm operates and under what type of market structures? Normally, we have different type of market structures. We can broadly classify them into perfect market competition and imperfect market competitions. So when it comes to market structures, it is on perfect competition and imperfect competition. So when you say imperfect competition, it has further three classifications. It is onto monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. So what is this perfect competition and imperfect competition and the various forms of imperfect competition? It is only on certain features like the level of price levels prevailing in the market, the type of demand, the type of structures, the type of product differentiation that happens in the market. So all this depends or decides the behavior of the firm. So whether they are operating in a perfect market or whether they are operating in an imperfect market. So let us go into the features of perfect competition. So before we go into the features, let us go into the definitions of perfect competition. So according to Billas, the perfect competition is characterized by the presence of many firms. They all sell identical products. The seller is a price taker and not a price maker. So by this we can infer that the perfect competition is a place where there are a large number of sellers and as well as a large number of buyers who are selling identical products. That means I cannot differentiate one product from the other. So here, since all these people are selling a very limited quantity of products, they cannot influence the price level. So they are all price takers and not price makers. So there is another definition in the words of Professor Leftwich. Perfect competition is a market in which there are many firms selling identical products with no large firm enough relative to the entire market to be able to influence the market price. So the same interpretation holds good, since all these sellers only produce only a very limited quantity of products, they are not able to decide on the price level, nor they can influence the price level in the markets. Features of perfect competition. The first one, the large number of buyers and sellers in the market. So there are a lot of consumers to buy this product, and there are a lot of sellers to sell this product. So theoretically speaking, this market exists only in a few areas and it is not practicable everywhere. So where can we find examples of such markets? So an example of such market would be a milk producer selling milk, or let us say it can be a fruit or a vegetable market, so wherein the vegetables are not differentiated on any other basis and it is sold in an open market. So I cannot differentiate one seller from the other. So there are a large number of buyers and sellers, they will not be able to influence the price level, since if one increases the price, the other consumers will go to the other seller, whoever is charging a lower price. So they, since they don't have a very good capacity to influence the price, so all these people are only taking the price offered by the market forces of demand and supply. The next feature is homogeneous products. All the products are identical and there are no close substitutes for these products. So they will sell more or less the same type of products and no product differentiation happens here. The next feature would be free entry and exit. When we say free entry and exit, any seller or a producer can enter the market at any point of time and also can exit the market as and when he decides. This means that, to put it in simple words, let's say that I'm a farmer producing potatoes or onions. So if I would like to sell my produce, I would sell it in the market, and if I don't feel like selling my product, I would like to have it for my personal consumption or distribution, I can either sell it or I can have it for my personal consumption. There is no restriction for me or no compulsion for me to come and sell in the market or to hold my products. So at any point of time, I can make an entry, and at any point of time, I can make an exit. So there is free mobility which exists in such a market. Absence of transportation cost. So since I am not able, as a producer, if I am not able to produce huge quantities to influence the price, then there is no transportation cost involved. So there is completely absence of transportation cost, as the quantity produced is so small so that it cannot influence the price level. So information about the price level. So since all the sellers are aware of the market price levels and the buyers are also having complete knowledge about the price levels, there is complete information. So there is no possibility of increasing the price of a particular product. Since all are homogeneous products, since there are a large number of buyers and sellers in the market, so the information normally is clear to all the people, either in the form of buyers or in the form of sellers. And as I have said earlier, all these people are price takers, since they cannot influence individually on the price level. Okay, let's move on to the next one on price and output determination of the firm. Every business runs on only two objectives, that is profit maximization and cost minimization. This is the objective of any type of business that runs in the market. So each and every firm would obviously look for profit, and when you talk in terms of total revenue, a firm's total revenue equals its price multiplied by the quantity sold, Q. So P into Q. Conditions for profit maximization. So here you have one particular feature, that is the first order for condition for profit maximization will be P. So P equals MR equals MC equals AR. That means price is equal to marginal revenue, that should be equal to marginal cost, and that should be equal to average revenue. The second condition for profit maximization is the slope of the MC curve should be positive or on the rise. So I'll interpret here with a diagram. So price and output determination of the firm, MR equals MC, or marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So here in the first diagram, So let us go into price and output determination of the firm in a perfect competitive market. As I have said, the two conditions hold goods. MR should be equal to MC, that is marginal revenue should be equal to marginal cost. So here on the x-axis you have the output, and on the y-axis we have taken the price. So there are two forces interacting in the market. One is the demand and the other one is the supply. So demand curve is a downward sloping curve and the supply curve is an upward rising curve. So the point of intersection between the demand and supply is this equilibrium position, that is E. So at this point, this is the equilibrium quantity that is to be supplied, and this will be the equilibrium price. So in a perfect competition, if we go by the cost, revenue and price, that is on the y axis, and output on the x axis, we have this demand curve which becomes a horizontal straight line. So why is this? I'll just draw a rough depiction of the diagram here. So P equals AR equals MR. So here the demand curve in a perfect competition becomes a horizontal straight line. Normally we will have the demand curve which is downward sloping. But here in a perfect competition, the demand curve is completely a horizontal straight line. So why is the demand curve a horizontal straight line? It is because these sellers are only price takers and they are not price makers. The price is already fixed, so you have to decide your output only based on the price that is fixed. So since all are price takers, the demand curve in a perfect competition becomes an horizontal straight line. So let us move into the next diagram. So this is the diagram on short run in a perfect competition. So the same thing, whether the firm will get profits in the short run or not. So here I have the marginal cost curves and the average cost curves here. The P at this price level, D equals, that is demand equals AR equals MR. The same diagram is being extended here. So at this point of intersection between MC and AC, this point, that is PEOC point, is profit. Since the revenue is more in a perfect competition, it is more than the cost, this shaded area would become the profits. So a firm in the short run is able to produce profits. So in a perfect competition, firms earn a large amount of profits. So this attract other firms to enter the market. Now, the firm's decision in perfect competition is to have two choices, whether to produce or to shut down, or if the decision is to produce, what quantity to produce. So normally, firms in the short run have a lot of profits. So seeing this attractive nature of profits in the short run, many firms try to intervene into the market in the long run. So what happens when a lot of firms enter into an industry? So when a lot of firms enter into the industry, the supply curve shifts rise and the shifts to the right and the price level completely falls. Now let's say that if an existing firm exits the industry, then there is a rise in the price levels. So whether to stay in the market or whether to move from the market depends upon the level of profits. And since everybody has to adjust to the output that is being produced, the firms have to stick on to that price level and continue in the market. A firm's long-run decisions are whether to increase or decrease its plant size. So in a short run, all the factors are not variable. Maybe one or two factors are variable in the short run, and in the long run, all the factors are variable. So it depends upon the level of profits. If the profit levels are high, yes, the plant size can be increased, and whether to stay in the industry or leave it. As long as the profits are good and as long as the quantity supplied by the industry is reasonable, you can stay in the market. But when the profits are short, you can exit. This is one more diagram. You can actually measure the short run equilibrium of the firm both by total cost, total revenue approach, and as well as the marginal cost, marginal revenue approach. So I have identified a diagram on the total cost and the total revenue approach. So here on the x-axis, I have the quantity which is being on the x-axis and the cost or the revenue on the y-axis. So here in this diagram, you have the TR curve. This is the TR curve, that is the total revenue curve is fixed since all are price takers in the market and there is no changes in the price level. So initially if you see, the cost is increasing, but after a point of time, let's say x of a, there is a bend or there is an intersection with the total revenue curve, and then slowly the total cost curve is declining. Then at point xo it is declining, then slowly it trends to increase. So by x of b, then there is an increase in the total cost curve. So interpreting here, this shaded portion, the costs are initially, when you are producing a product, the costs are initially high, but after producing of certain units, the cost automatically comes down. This is with larger individual outputs, or let's say with larger amount of output which has been produced, the cost automatically comes down, and after a point of time it started increasing. So this area is the profitable area. Since your revenue is more than the cost, this area is the portion wherein you can have maximum profits. So a firm can achieve maximum profits in the short run. Okay, profit maximization in the long run. So long run is a period in which you have all your factors which are variable. So what happens in the long run? As in the short run, it is only on a few factors that is variable, but in the long run, all the factors are variable. So here again, your demand curve is a horizontal straight line. P equals MR, that is price is equal to marginal revenue. You have four curves intersecting here. SMC, this is short run marginal cost curve, and then you have this long run marginal. So both these points intersecting at point E, and you have the short run average cost and long run average cost. So at these point, all the short run cost curves and the long run cost curves intersect at a point E. So this point is the lowest point on which you can produce the maximum output. So at this price you will be profitable. A firm would be profitable in the long run. So it is beyond this price, it is not profitable for a firm to exist. So it depends whether they want to leave the industry or whether they want to stick back with the same cost at the same price levels. So profit in the long run depends upon the number of participants in the market and whether to make an entry or exit of the firm in the long run. Summarization of the entire concept, let's say that. So we started initially with discussing on what is a market, what is a market structure, what are the different types of market structure, what is the role of pricing, what influences these markets, and how can we achieve efficiency in these markets. So we have gone through perfect competition, the features of perfect competition, the pricing followed by them, the profit maximization and a perfect competition, and how these firms operate in a situation in which you have competing forces. Okay, thank you for taking up this session. We will take up the next topic with the next session.